Hi everybody, this is G from Notions You Need, and we're picking up where we left off on our previous video about the Fast Fold, our new product, and we're going to show you now how the Fast Fold works for binding a quilt. Before we showed you by using the two different sizes here, we automatically folded our fabric so that we could do purse straps, aprons, and mask straps. Now we're going to show you how you can use the same tool for binding your quilt. So the first thing that you do is you cut your strips, and for this size fast fold, we are cutting our strips 1 3/4 inches. Sorry, there's a brain fart there. So we're going to cut them 1 3/4 inches, and then we are going to join our strips all together. So the way you join your strips is you take one strip and you put it horizontal. You take your next strip that you're going to join it to and you put it perpendicular to that, and just leave a little bit on either end so you have these little points right here, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our tool and we're going to lay it right here, and we're going to draw a chalk line. Now, a lot of you more experienced sewers may go ahead and eyeball this, and that's fine, but you're going to put your chalk line right there. We're going to pin it, and we're going to take that to the machine, and we're going to go ahead and sew it. Okay? Now, I've gone ahead and sewn one together. So, here it is right here. This is the way it was laid out, and I've sewed it with red thread so you can see it. So now we're ready to trim off the excess fabric, and our fast fold has this 45-degree angle. All we have to do is take this etched line and put it on our sewing line, take our rotary cutter, just cut the excess off, and now we have our strip joined. We're going to sew all of our strips together enough to completely bind our quilt. And then we're going to take those strips and we are going to press our fabric to either the left or the right, depending on if you're left or right-handed. So I've gone ahead and I've pressed mine going towards the left because that's the way that my fast fold is going to fold the fabric. So now we have this. We're going to take our dog ears right here and we're going to trim those off. So now we're going to take our binding to our ironing surface, and we're going to use our fast fold to automatically fold our binding as we're pressing it. But before we do that, I want to show you a few things about it. You'll see that there's two different sets of slots here. The first set is used for a first fold if you're going to be doing a double fold for purses or masks. You can refer to our previous video on that so that you can see how that works. For the purposes of this video, we're only going to be using the first set. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold our binding in half, and we're just going to give it a nice good press so we have a good crease there. And we're going to take our fast fold. We're going to be using these two slots. We're going to bring our fabric up like a belt buckle through one and back down through the other slot. And then we're going to secure our fabric to an ironing surface. Now I'm using a wool mat, and these are really handy to have next to your sewing machine if you need to do a little bit of pressing as you're going. If you're going to be doing this at home, you'll probably do these bindings on your sewing machine, your ironing board, so you have a lot more surface. So see, I've pressed my seam to the left because that's the way my fast fold is going to be traveling, going to the left. Again, if you're right-handed, you're going to press it the opposite direction. So go ahead and slide your fast fold down, and you can see as I slide it, it's actually folding the fabric. Let's get our iron in there. It fits right in the crease, and we just push along. We're going to easily go over that seam, and we're going to press our binding. It's going to go fast. We're not going to burn our fingers. This is not going to melt. And then I'm just going to advance it by pulling those pins out. Now I'm using fork pins, and fork pins are great because it gives you even tension on your fabric so that it doesn't slip, because you're using that tension to automatically fold your binding. So we're going to repin it and finish pressing, and you're going to go through your whole binding, but your binding is going to go a lot faster this way than having to stop, line up your fabric, press, stop again. As you can see, I'm going to keep moving my iron back and forth as I'm pushing this along, and the reason I'm doing that is to get enough heat in there so that you get a nice crisp fold. So now that we've finished pressing our binding, we're going to attach it to our quilt. When I bind a quilt, I go ahead and I serge all the way around my quilt so that it's nice and tight and I don't have to deal with these multiple layers. It just makes it nice and compact like that. We're going to pretend this is the bottom of my quilt, and I've marked the center of the bottom where my join is going to go for my binding. Now, I've already cut my binding, but I'm going to show you how I did it. The fast fold, again, has two other features. You see this etched line right here? That's going to show us how to measure our binding so it joins together perfectly at the bottom of your quilt. So you're going to take your marked line. On the left, you're going to take your fabric. You're going to have about a few inches extra. You're going to leave a few extra overhang when you're putting it together. But now I've taken my fast fold and I've laid it on here, and I had marked a line here for my cutting line for the left side, and it's even with the center line. This one, the way I did it was I took the bottom of my fast fold, I laid it on that center like that, and I pulled this back, and you can see how I cut it matching that etched line right there. Now my binding is going to go together perfectly. So the way you do that is on the left side, you're going to lay it face up like this. On the right side, you're going to lay it face down, perpendicular, just like that. You're going to take your fast fold. You're going to match your corners like this, and you're going to give yourself a little chalk line, a sewing line. You're going to take it to your machine and you're going to sew it. Now, on this sample, I've already gone ahead and I've sewn the two pieces together on my chalk line, so that's the way it looked. There's the red line. And we're going to cut off the excess now. So we're going to take that over to our cutting mat. We're going to lay this right on the stitch line, and then we're going to go ahead and cut off the excess. And now when you pull this like this, your binding is perfect at the bottom of your quilt, and you go ahead and finish stitching your 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then you can turn your binding to the back just like that. So that's how the fast fold works for binding. We appreciate you watching the video. Check out our website at notionsyouneed.com and have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye-bye. Do you think that